Hi, my name is Milton Montero, and I'll be presenting division versus subtraction, task-specific gating in recurrent neural networks. This work is motivated by experimental findings showing that the brain exhibits two forms of inhibitory gating that are usually modeled as either divisive or subtractive. However, it is still unclear how these two differ functionally. So in this study, we propose using current RNN models, specifically deep learning models, to see how these two mechanisms can be leveraged for effective task performance. Specifically, we will model both gated RNNs in general as traditional recurrent neural networks, which modulate their input by this, which have their inputs modulated by this inhibitory neuron, which in the case of divisively gated RNNs or div RNNs, will perform this modulation of the input coming in from, for example, layer 2-3 as a division operation before the input is passed into a memory cell consisting of a network of interconnected parameter cells in, for example, layer 5. Analogously, for subtractive gated RNNs or sub-RNNs, this operation uses subtraction, as is obvious. Based on previous analytical studies, we expect sub-RNNs to be more robust to variability in the input. However, given that division can be used to scale inputs up and down and weigh them differently, we expect div RNNs to be able to outperform in tasks which need queue-specific gating and can exploit task structure to ignore specific inputs, or where indeed ignoring such inputs is actually needed to solve the task. To answer these questions, we propose several tasks, and here we'll just talk about one, in this case, a contextual discrimination task, which is based on previous work by Valerio Manti. In this task, participants are asked to discriminate between motion or color based on a cue that's presented on the end. And the answer is to, well, select which color is more prevalent or which motion, either left or right, was more prevalent during the presentation of the stimuli. And this task requires then the models to integrate noise that may arise in the motion and select which one is more apparent, or which one's the correct one. And it requires a memory component because models have to remember until the end both signals so that they can decide correctly. And indeed, the results show that, for example, if we vary the coherence, then both models are very similar, with a slight preference, with sub-RNNs slightly outperforming div RNNs when we vary the strength of the signal. If we, on the other hand, vary the noise, or vary how much variability there is in the input, then indeed sub-RNNs show better performance. When there's almost no noise, they're pretty much similar, although div RNNs take a bit longer to converge. However, as we increase the noise, we can see that the difference slightly increases. And we can show this as a summary plot for the final performance of all the models. And you can see that for both levels of coherence, either 0.8 and 0.4, both models tend to increase. The performance gets worse as we increase the noise. However, the increase is larger for div RNNs than for sub-RNNs. To study how queue-specific gating can be used to improve model performance, we modify the task slightly, introducing attention cues that indicate that the models must integrate the information presented in these segments, while ignoring information presented in segments that are not cued, which contain non-predictive information and must be actively ignored. We show that indeed, div RNNs outperform sub-RNNs when the number of queued segments is small. However, for example, here, where only one segment is queued, and the final performance of this div RNN model is better than the sub-RNN one. However, as we increase the number of queues, this advantage disappears, as we would expect, since we are reverting to the previous task, where all frames must be attended to. If you find this work interesting, please visit us at poster 2078, session 2B. Thank you for listening.